Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels with me, Martin Fish, joined with Jill and Sean.
Hello, hi.
And we've got all sorts happening this week, but I'm going to be off with Jill and we're going to be looking around the garden of some friends, Nicki and James Smallwood, who've created this amazing new cottage garden. So you'll find out about that a little bit later on.
We've got a listener's question coming up, and just reminding you, if you've got a listener's question, because you're a listener, drop us an email, info@potsandtrowels.com.
Or a viewer, because we like questions from people who watch our videos as well, don't we? So yeah. Well, we had a lovely time last weekend because we were invited round to James and Nicki's for supper. And while we were there, we had a look round their lovely garden.
Well, I've come today to visit some friends who live near Grantham in Lincolnshire that have moved into a village and over the last couple of years have been creating a new garden. So I just want to see exactly how they've got on. So, James, hello, how are you?
Hello, Martin.
Well,
yeah,
this
good,
is all
thank you.
looking glorious because you've only been here a short while.
Yeah, just over 2 years now. And as I tell everybody, when we moved in, there wasn't a single plant in the garden. It was pretty much a blank canvas. Once our friend had come round with his digger and removed all the great laurel bushes and everything else that was overgrown.
Right, okay. So to set the scene, a small village, lovely stone, that really lovely mellow stone cottage, the garden at the front, quite a big garden really, isn't it? You know, it's both dimensions. So very overgrown, and you've now, I think, put this to a really attractive cottage garden style with a bit of a modern twist to it, but it's just got wonderful planting.
Yeah, we wanted to create a kind of natural cottage garden. And one of the main things we did first of all, the sort of hard landscaping, was to create the path which goes from the front door to the gate, because originally there was no path there at all. It was all just grass. The gate they didn't use at all to access. And what it's done is it's kind of divided the garden up a little bit, but it's also given us two extra borders, if you like, either side of the path. And we've got some lovely delphiniums in there. We've got grasses, totally tangerine geum. We have a lovely penstemon, which is called Dakota Burgundy. Pale pink, flowers and flowers and flowers, and thistles, which of course the bees love. That one is called Joss Eye King. And my favourite at the moment, just coming out, is this Martagan lily called Arabian Night. And we first saw that a couple of years ago at Birmingham at the NEC at Gardeners World Live. I fell in love with it, and it's looking really good.
It's looking good, and some grasses growing through there as well, which give it some lovely movement. Nicki, you've been busy pulling a few weeds out. Not that there are many weeds in your garden, but I saw you just taking one or two little weeds out of a pot there. So this is amazing, isn't it? So, you know, the planting in this is not old, and it's just grown so well.
We're just so pleased that so much has come back, and I think it's the soil up here. The soil is just beautiful, and you might make mistakes, things that don't come back, but we have been extremely lucky with what has come back here. And the grasses were fantastic through the winter.
Yeah. What is this? Is it Calamagrostis, is it? Or is
that one, yeah, is Carl Forster.
Right, okay.
And it was beautiful in the winter. Absolutely lovely.
We've got a couple of miscanthus, and my favourite, the Stipa gigantea, which I've renamed as Stipa absolutely enormous. It really has come on.
Yes.
But again, it's that movement. It just creates
exactly. Yeah. And what I love about it is within the garden you've got that sort of lovely winding path that you've built, a beautiful brick path there, James. And as it goes on, but you've taken advantage of different areas, because underneath the prunus there, the one with the lovely purple leaves, it's a bit shady. So you've got your hostas and your hellebores there to create a different area for winter.
And it is as I say, we've thoroughly enjoyed starting with a completely blank canvas. And we wanted it cottagey, but we didn't want it sort of old cottage. And there's just some beautiful plants around now. And the grasses they break it up and they give it the modern twist. Yeah. And it's just we're very, very pleased with it.
I think you should be very pleased. And I would imagine that you get lots of people walking by, stopping to look over.
The main part of the garden, well, most of the garden is along the front of the house. So people walk past and they've loved seeing what we've done. And we've inspired some. Some people have said, you're an inspiration. You've made me want to go and start planting different things in my garden.
Well, I'm inspired by it. I feel like I've got to take some of my planting out now and start again. You know, we're only just doing ours. Can we have a wander through onto the area? Because I want to have a little talk about the roses as well over the lovely gravel path here. So yes, because the boundary between you and next door, there is a fence, and you've got some lovely high planting with your delphiniums in there, and you've got the lupins, but you've done something very clever with roses. So whose idea was that then?
Well,
We stole that idea from the garden of a local hotel, and they've got these wooden posts with swags of rope, and we've sort of planted roses and clematis, so they sort of intertwine and work their way along the ropes, and we can get behind it, so we can get to the fence, but it gives that height.
Yes, yeah.
Without having trellis or
Absolutely.
things that you can't see through. You can see through it, which has been, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, and James, it's really good at, you've got, you know, perennials up there to 4 feet tall, but it just fills in a gap above it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. The white lupins. I mean, this is mostly sort of white, pink, and purple along here, which again was deliberate. But we've got things like the Nepeta at very low level, and then we've got the lupins, white lupins, and white delphiniums. We've got phlox just coming out, interplanted with some ferns, and then the big thalictrum, black stockings, that one is, which has done really, really well. And then at the back, you've got the rope swags with the roses on, things like American Pillar and open arms. Again, really pleased with the way they've done it.
Yeah, and an old beehive in there as well.
Yeah, no bees.
No bees, no, but it just looks really good in there.
Architectural, yes.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does really well. And your lawns, I mean, have you cut them especially for this visit? Because they're looking beautiful. Yes.
I did cut them this morning, not because necessarily I knew you were coming, because they needed cutting. That was
Right,
it.
absolutely.
The thing. I mean,
Well-
at the moment, the grass is just growing furiously, and I know I'm a member down at Sleaford Golf Club, and the ground staff are struggling to keep up with cutting the grass down there. It's just growing so fast.
Absolutely, yes, it is, isn't it? Because there's still a lot of moisture in the ground, and the temperatures are getting warmer, so it's just growing like mad. Now, we're not going to talk about them much today because it's the wrong time of the year, but you are very much into your auriculas, so can we come back and talk about those?
Yes,
another time?
yeah, another time. But they've just had their finish, their final flourish. Chelsea is about it. They finish round about then, but they'll over summer and come back next spring.
Okay, well, next spring I will come and have a look at your auriculas. But Nikki, you're also passionate about another plant, which are looking great at the moment, which are...
They are showing off beautifully, my hostas. And they're just a vast array to choose from. Too many, really. But I just love them. There was one here in a terrarium, a little glass terrarium, and there's a miniature in there. And through the winter we had it was so wet, and this poor thing was completely waterlogged for weeks, and I thought, oh, it'll just go. It's come back.
Yeah. And how many different types have you got? Because there's around the side where we
yes.
haven't ventured, that's the area that you're going to be developing the next couple of years, but
I
there's
must
a lot.
have, I've probably got 100.
Wow. And I suppose there's an awful lot more.
I could double it easily.
Right, okay.
Easily.
So when you go to a show, do you sort of limit your credit card, or do you just... No.
Well, no,
Nothing to do with credit card, Martin. She goes along and says, "Oh, that's a nice one," and the exhibitors are so generous. They'll always say, "Oh, here, I'll take it. Go on, have
There
one."
you go.
And you can go,
Yeah.
no, I've got to give you something for no. And this is one of the fantastic things about working at the shows. People are so generous with their knowledge and with their plants, and that's
they're
great.
passionate.
They
They
are.
love it when you love them.
And they want to share
Yes.
that passion and the
Yes.
plants as well.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, we ought to say at this point, not everybody can go up to them and get free
No,
plants.
no,
Because
absolutely.
what we haven't said is that the two of you work at lots of the flower shows on nursery stands.
Yes.
So you're
But
part of the
hostas,
team.
you can find there's always car boots and little local fetes. There's always somebody, because they have to be cut. They have to be split.
Exactly.
I mean, every autumn, I'll have 30 or 40 to either give away or sell. I had a plant sale at the front of the house here last year. Because
I might come and see you in the autumn.
you
then.
must, you must.
And James in the spring. So yes, yeah.
But hostas are. I mean, people always say, "Oh, but the slugs." Well, if the slugs eat a leaf, you come out and you cut that leaf off.
But a lot of yours are growing in pots,
Yes,
and
much
you've got them
better.
arranged in displays, on tiered displays. Do you find that the slugs don't attack them as much that way?
We haven't had slugs here.
Good.
The only thing that decimated a couple of them was mice.
Right, okay.
They grazed on them, but they've stopped now. And as I say, if they get a couple of damaged leaves, you just cut those leaves off. And they're just, I mean, they are at their best now. They are absolutely
lovely.
beautiful.
They're looking beautiful.
No,
And the
I
whole
love them.
garden is looking beautiful. It's a lovely evening, the sun's shining,
It
a bit of
is.
breeze, the things are moving around.
And it's wonderful therapy. You come out
Exactly.
into the garden, it's quiet, you deadhead. It's so good for us, I think. One, to be outdoors. Two, and to see things grow is just, it fascinates me.
It is. Well, thank you for sharing it with us this
It's a
evening
pleasure. You're very welcome.
and telling us about it. We'll get a few pictures that we'll share as well, and I will return.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
No,
Nicki.
thank you.
There is a little bit of a theme coming here where you guys go off somewhere and I don't get invited. Now, I'm just wondering, is it my deodorant? Or
Did we not mention it? Did you not get the email, Sean?
the memo seems to have missed.
Yeah.
Oh, it was that we had a really nice meal, and then we had one of James's signature dishes, which was a Tunisian citrus. I think it was almonds as well in there. It was really nice. So, although it was called a cake, you couldn't eat it as a cake. You couldn't pick it up. It was really moist.
Like a pudding.
Yes, really nice. Bit of cream on top
Oh,
as
it's
well.
very nice. I had seconds.
Delicious. I have got the recipe
If you
from
need
James.
to try
so-
it out at any point, Jill.
Yeah.
When you come next time, Sean, Jill will cook it
Yeah.
and make it because it was delicious. So yes.
Fabulous, super. Well, look, something Nikki mentioned somewhere in the middle of that chat was that she said something about, when you see what comes back in terms of plants. What did she mean by what comes back?
I think she meant, well, I know what she meant. She meant they survived the winter because most of the garden, it's this lovely cottage garden that they've planted with grasses and lots of herbaceous perennials that die down in the winter. And once they're established, it's not normally a problem. But if they're only young plants, sometimes you do lose the odd one, especially because we've had such a wet winter. But everything looks so strong and healthy. Really, really did. Absolutely full of flower. We caught it at the peak, I'm sure.
Yeah, full of bees as well. There were bees everywhere. It was just, yeah, really enjoying the flowers.
Good. And obviously there was chat about Auriculas, which you'd missed because that's a spring flowering plant.
Yes, well, James is very much into his Auriculas, and we know James and Nicki through the flower shows. And James is not a horticulturist, but they're both very, very good gardeners, very knowledgeable. And I think how James got into the Auriculas, he used to go to the Chelsea Flower Show. They used to live in Hertfordshire, the regulars at the Chelsea Flower Show, and they would buy their Auriculas off Bill Lockyer. Lockyer was a famous Auricula grower, sadly died a few years ago, but his son Simon has taken on the mantle and has got an amazing collection of Auriculas as well. But James would go and buy his Auriculas, and he got to know Bill, had a bit of banter with Bill at the flower shows. And eventually, I think Bill said, would you like to come and help on the stand at Chelsea? And James said, wow, yes, please. So he's been helping the family on the nursery at shows, and he helps Simon at lots of shows now, on the sales side and building the stand. So that's how he got into his Auriculas. And he's got, they're in the greenhouse, they're all sort of just summer, having their summer vacation, but I'd love to go back and see them in the spring and get a few tips on growing them and keeping them.
My initial memory of Auriculas is when we were back doing our filming at the BBC, and your partner in crime at the time, John, said, you've got to go to Cork Abbey. They've got their most amazing Auricula theatre. So we all pulled up to do this filming, camera crew, me to direct. And what I didn't realise is an Auricula theatre is a sort of small display in the corner of the garden. It's not the what was built up in my mind.
It's not the
was a
Theatre
large
Royal or the London Palladium.
2,500
Grand
seating,
Circle.
theatre with the upper tiers and lower tiers. Anyway, so presumably they were, much, a sort of prestigious plant back in the Victorian days.
Absolutely, and they were often grown. I mean, yes, the big houses had these Auricula theatres, and it was all about show. How many varieties we've got, and all these fancy double global ones and really, really attractive flowers. They're beautiful. But they were also grown by the working man, in lots of the industrial areas in the north. They would grow auriculas and have auricula shows and take them out to village halls and show them. So they've been grown for a long time, and there's so many beautiful ones out there. They're still very popular. I don't think people have collections as much these days, but very lovely plants, and we need to get a few more because we did.
Tender?
No, they're hardy. I mean, some of them they will stand the cold. Some of them don't like the wet. So the ones that don't like the wet, you keep them in a cold greenhouse over winter just to keep the rain off them. But they are the outdoor ones, the bedding auriculas and the alpine ones are pretty tough. So, you can leave a lot of them outside.
And you often see them grown just individually in a terracotta pot and then put onto shelving, which would be the Auricula Theatre. I remember at Harrogate Flower Show, we did a Pots and Trowels video with Harry, who is one of the youngest exhibitors ever to have been at Harrogate Flower Show.
Was he 12?
And I think he was,
11 or 12, yeah.
And he loves growing auriculas, so he was there with a collection of auriculas.
That is a really nice
great.
video, actually. It's worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Yeah. Well, also the other thing that they've obviously grow a lot of, Nicki and James, is hostas.
That's Nicki's collection. James is the auriculas,
Nicki's
and
hostas.
Nicki's the and she's got a lovely collection of all different sizes, little miniature ones.
I love the miniature ones, and again in terracotta pots on some shelving. She'd just got a sort of old wrought iron staging shelves, hadn't she? Yeah, theatre, Hosta Theatre.
Yeah. Is it at the showings? Are they the same nights as the Auricula Theatre showings, or do they never repeat?
Yes, matinee performance. But yeah, they looked really nice. Just one, a really nice clump in a terracotta pot on this shelving, and they looked lovely.
They do, yeah, they do look good in pots. And I always think they work well with ferns. If you've got some of the lovely ferns in pots, and if you've got a shady part of the garden where you think, what can I grow? Just, a few of those in pots or on a shelf, they work really well. They're easy to look after, and they're not troubled as much in pots by slugs and snails as if they're planted in the ground.
That was like the bogeyman, the elephant in the room whenever anyone mentions hostas, isn't it? It's the slugs and snails. But my father-in-law's got a collection of hostas, and he's got these wide copper bands around the tops of all the pots, and they seem to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they won't they try to cross over the copper, but it gives them a bit of an electrical tingle. It doesn't electrocute them, but it gives them a bit of a shock. I don't understand the physics of it, but apparently when the mucus goes over the copper, it gives them a tingle. I mean, as you probably noticed, Sean, I always wear a copper bangle for that very reason.
Stop the slugs from
going up my arm.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be good for arthritis. I'm not sure it's working, but I've never had a slug anyway. So
but it's all about garlic solutions now, isn't it, to keep slugs at bay? So I don't know if I can remember the recipe completely, but I know you boil up a full clove, not the clove, the head of garlic,
the full ball,
in a saucepan of water, and then when it's gone really soft, you just mush it all up, and that's your sort of concentrate. So you can keep that in the fridge for quite a long time, and then when you want to use it, you just take a tablespoon of this garlic paste, dilute that in about a litre of water, and then just spray that over your hostas. And it's the smell.
Sorry,
You're
Jill's
looking
at my very sceptical face. I don't believe
true.
in this sort of stuff.
It's true. No, it's true. A lot of the hosta growers, if you talk to them at shows, they will give you that as a solution.
Okay.
And it's the smell that detracts the slugs from the hostas. So they always say one word of caution, though, is don't boil your garlic up in the kitchen. If you've got an outdoor cooker or a hob that you can put outdoors, it smells.
The smell's not just going to put the slugs and snails in, it's also going to put
it must work, because a lot of the growers that are at the RHS shows getting gold medals, they are using this garlic spray. You've got to do it fairly regularly, but you can never smell it on the plants. You don't go into the marquee at the flower shows.
No, you don't.
I mean, we'll be at Hampton Court very soon, and we won't walk in there and think garlic. But it obviously works. Keeps them nice and clean. Puts that barrier on there that they obviously
and
don't
it's
like.
probably cheaper than buying the copper bands, because I don't know if they're fairly expensive.
I think they are. Yeah, my father-in-law said they're quite expensive.
Yeah.
But I've realised that an electrician left an old reel of electrical wire in our cellar, so I'm wondering if I can sort of strip it out and just wrap it around.
Oh, that might look quite nice. nice on your pots as well if you sort of wrapped it.
Or it might just end up being a helter-skelter for the slugs.
Yes, it's just slide down it while you're getting an electrical tingle.
No,
all
I
the
think
way.
you can be quite artistic with that.
I might give it a go. If I get around to it, I'll put it on Instagram.
Might take you a while to strip all the plastic sheathing off.
That's what children are for, isn't it?
Oh, exactly. Yes, exactly. Get them on it.
Oh, poor thing.
Oh, dear, Marley will chew his way through it. Yeah.
Yes, but going back to James and Nicki's garden, it was an amazing garden. They've only been there 2 years. I think it's probably only just 2 years, and they've done a lot of clearing. They showed us some photographs of it before.
Yes.
You couldn't see the cottage from the road; it was just overgrown with hedges and laurel. So that's been ripped out, and they've opened it up, exposed this beautiful stone wall, and I think lots of people are walking by and just admiring the garden. So it is beautiful what they've done, and hats
They'll
off
have to
to
get
them.
it on the open garden scheme, won't they?
Well,
yes.
I would imagine if they offered their services, they would bite their hand off.
Well,
So,
they've
yeah.
still got to do some work on the side
Sort of
part
side
of the
bit,
garden,
yeah.
haven't they? But their plans for that bit sound fantastic. So maybe we'll have to do that as a Pots
We'll
Trowels
take you
video
with
in
us.
the
We'll
future.
take you with us, Sean. Then.
Yeah.
We'll see if James will cut you the old.
See if he'll do his Tunisian
Tunisian
citrus
cake
cake.
for
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I'm
like a
sure he
plan.
will.
Can I just ask something? Because James pointed out that his thalictrum, which had got very tall, but it was a tall variety, was it? But I've just noticed in our garden, our thalictrum seems much taller than usual. And with the weather that we've been having, it's been so changeable. I'm just a bit worried that the stems are quite thin, aren't they?
Have we not got a support on it?
No, there's nothing.
Oh,
It doesn't usually get
no.
as tall as that, but it just seems to have really grown.
I think it is just the weather this year. I mean, it's not been the warmest, although we're telling it's warm. But we've had the moisture and we've had spells of warm, and it's just actually shot up. And it is tall, isn't it? It must be 7 feet tall.
Well,
We
yeah.
must have some supports we can put around
But not
it.
as tall as that.
No, but
So
as long
if
as
you
we
did
can
them
hold
round-
it sort of around the base.
Yeah, but it's getting them round them now, isn't it? You can't put anything over the top.
Haven't we got those semicircular ones?
Chop it down, put it round it, and then put it back.
Haven't we got those sort of tall semicircular ones with just 2 legs that you can push
I've
in?
used those already. They've
We'll have to get some more then.
They're holding up near the penstemon. I saw it in the video.
Oh,
Yeah,
did you?
they
Yes,
are, yeah.
yes, they are.
I
Yes.
forgot, but it's not the penstemon.
Yeah.
It's
It's the catmin.
Nepeta.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Nepeta, that's it.
Yes.
yeah, that's really grown as well this time.
And
hasn't it?
everything's
It's
just gone mad.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Can I get to this listener's question?
Yes.
Oh, have
Sorry.
you got a question? Yes. I'm sorry, John.
Well, shall I let the listeners into a secret that it's actually my wife's question? Wendy from West Bridgeford would like to know about her Spiraea bridal
Bridal wreath.
Bridal wreath,
Yeah.
that's it, yeah. So it's wonderful when it flowers, it's amazing, but it's rather large. So it's about how to prune it, how to keep the shape, but to make it
Okay.
smaller.
And this is the one that flowers sort of April time, doesn't
Yeah,
it? You
it's
get
a
these
spring
lovely
flower,
like
yeah.
arching branches of little white flowers.
It curves over, it's fantastic. But what seems to happen is obviously it gets bigger and bigger. And some of the stalks that kind of curve over have got flowers and leaves right at the end, but there's quite a lot of wood. It's
Right.
quite woody, actually.
Now is a good time to do it. I mean, you could have done it as soon as it finished flowering, because what it does, it flowers on the previous season's growth. So all the new shoots that it's making now will then have flowers on next year. And if you don't prune it, it just gets bigger and bigger, really congested in the centre, lots of old wood, and then bits of bare stem on it. So you could. It's where are we now? We're getting on in June. Well, yeah, you could give it a prune, but I wouldn't do a really hard one. So some of those long ones, you could cut them back. That'll encourage some new growth from the base, and that will just restrain it a little bit for now. You'll get flowers still next year, but next year, as soon as the flowers fade, then that's the time you could be a bit more ruthless, thin it out, cut some of the shoots back, get it to a nice shape, and then it will make some extension growth through the summer of maybe a foot, a little bit more, and it will be on that new growth that you'll get your flowers then the following spring. So there's still time to do a little bit of pruning on it.
Because it's got a really interesting shaped seed pods as well on it. It's they're quite
Right,
decorative.
there you go.
Yeah. Anyway.
But it's a nice shrub. You don't see it that often nowadays, but it's a really lovely one in the spring with those white sprays of
It
flowers.
was a wedding present.
Well, it might have been bridal
Oh,
wreath.
it's a good one
yes.
for a wedding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
Good
doing
stuff.
well then.
Yes, yeah. I should be now remembering how.
Yes,
how-
you
exactly
should.
how many
Yes.
years.
No, I know exactly how long. 16 years in August.
Aw.
There you go. Well, you've had your money's worth out of that one, haven't
Very
you? You need to
good.
get a few cuttings off it then, don't you? That's the time.
I'll give you them if you want. Yeah.
Perfect time to take cuttings as well.
Okay. I might, I'll give that a go.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a few jobs to do as well. Then.
Go on,
Unless
then.
you've got any more questions, Mrs.
Well, no, I thought how lovely it is to just, we did go round for supper, but it was just so lovely chatting about gardening and their garden. And they obviously love what they've done with it and what they're going to do with it. And it's just a nice thing to talk about, isn't it? You don't have to be a fantastic gardener. You don't have to remember lots of plant names. And James is fantastic at plant names, but it is good for the soul, isn't it, really? Just wandering around a garden, chatting about things and sort of saying what you like, what you don't like, what you're going to do. Just really good. Yeah.
That's right. And swapping things, because James is going to bring us he's got a spare grass, so he's going to bring us an ornamental grass. So I need to think of something.
I missed that conversation.
He sent me an email the other day, so I need to think of
if
something to swap.
If he brings you one plant, you could give him 10 plants
I can
back.
find something for him.
There's loads of them lined up on
Yeah.
No, not as many as last week,
Well,
Sean.
you've done some good planting.
I've done some
since
planting
then,
since. There's still quite a lot. I think I'm going to have too many. That is the problem. You might need to find a few spaces in your garden, Sean, to put one or two bits
I
in.
think once we get this bridal wreath chopped down, we might have a bit more space.
Okay.
So yeah, jobs then, Martin.
Jobs, right, okay. Well, in the veggie plot, it's still time just about to plant leeks. So if you haven't put any leeks in, then it's too late to sow them from seed. But I saw some the other day in a garden centre, young leek plants. And you need to get them in now so they've got time. And the reason I say that is because some people are lifting their early potatoes. And traditionally, leeks were always planted when you lifted your first early potatoes. They would fill that ground with the leeks. So it's a very traditional way of doing it. Lots of people will have had them in for weeks already. But if you have got a bit of space, or you're taking your potatoes out, your first earlies, and you can get some plants, get them in.
We've had a bit of a disaster with some of our leeks, haven't we?
Well, yeah, not the ones in our garden. We're very lucky. A friend across the road has got a couple of spare beds, so we can use those as overflow. And we planted some, I went and planted some leeks a couple of weeks ago, made the hole with a dibber, dropped the leek seedlings in. And then I got a text a couple of days later saying, have you planted leeks in the garden? Yes. They've had all the tops nibbled off, and a rabbit has got into the garden and it's chewed them. I went to have a look, and it's literally chewed them down to ground level. And I thought, I'm going to have to buy some more because they're all the ones we grew from seed. But I went again a few days later, and they're already sprouting again.
Oh, right.
So we put some netting over them to keep the rabbit off.
Okay.
So they'll be fine. They'll
Right.
catch up. They'll be fine.
Oh, you hadn't told me that.
Oh,
That's
so
good.
we're saving it. So we
Right.
can still have leek and potato
Okay,
soup.
good.
So lupins as well, deadhead lupins. The lupins have been fantastic this year. Loads and loads of flowers, but they need to be deadheaded, cut down to where there's a little side shoot, and you'll get a side shoot and another
I
flower.
was just going to ask you that because I did that the other day and
saw
thought,
you'd
I don't know
done
if
it.
I'm cutting them down too far.
No, you did a good
Okay,
job. Yes,
good.
you've passed that one.
Thank you.
And it's a good time as well because we've done the patio now. We need a few more containers on it. And if you want something that's going to be there all year round rather than just the summer colour, which is great at this time of the year, but in the winter you need a bit of colour and structure. Good time to buy a few evergreens from a garden centre or a nursery, something that's going to look good all through the year, and buy a bigger pot. Pot it into that, and then that will grow, and you've got something there in the winter time. And the other thing we're going to do, or we have done, in fact, is you can do it, is to train, if you've got any trained fruit trees. And we've just done a video on this, and we're trying to create an apple espalier, which is the one where you get them in layers. So the central stem, and then we get vertical growths going out either side, so you create this lovely
horizontal
tier.
even, yeah.
Did I say vertical?
Yeah. It's just because I'm watching you do your hands across and you're saying vertical, I'm thinking, I might need to clarify that.
Yes, you're right. So there's
Across.
central stem is vertical, and then we've got the horizontal ones going out. Yes, I always do it with my hands. And we're going to show you how easy it is to get one started. So now's the time to do it.
And where's that going to go?
I don't
in the
know
garden?
yet. At the moment, it's in
There's
a
a nice
pot.
wall over there I can see from here.
It's in a pot at the moment. It's a spare apple tree that I cut down in the winter. It's produced lots of new growth. So while it's nice and soft, you can train it. So we'll worry about that afterwards, Jill.
Okay.
Let's just train it to
Right.
start with.
Okay.
So there's always something to be doing in the garden. So yes. We'll find somewhere to plant it.
Can I just give you a quick last strawberry update? This will
Oh,
probably be
yeah.
the last
Yes.
one.
Have you been eating some? You picked some?
Well, we had the joke a few podcasts ago. I said I would share the strawberry. I've had 2 strawberries. I've actually had quite a few strawberries, but the squirrels have had them. And very annoyingly, I've mentioned it before, but it ran off down the garden, ate half it, threw it away. So half the
That's a disgrace.
Oh, just so annoying. But anyway, there are some more coming. but no, very, very nice, beautiful strawberries. But I was hoping I was waiting to pick these because I thought I'd have a few in one go.
Yes. Yeah.
That's when they obviously got.
And you are feeding it on a Saturday, aren't you?
Saturday feeding day. Yeah, Saturday is my feeding day.
It's looking healthy and growing.
Yeah, so we've got about 8 plants now. So there's still some with some green strawberries. I'm hoping will ripen.
Good. Yeah, they will if you feed them. And it's about this time they start to produce their runners. So you'll see the little runners being produced from the centre of the plant.
I don't sure I can take care of any more plants.
No, you wanted about 50. Then you're going to supply the stream.
I'll bring you some next time.
Well, we've got some right. We've had the ones in the greenhouse. There's still ripening.
There's still a few on.
I just pick them when I'm in there, the little ones. But the ones outside in the veg plot are just starting to ripen.
Yeah,
nicely.
we need to cover them really, though, don't we?
Yeah.
Otherwise the birds will get.
They will. They will.
We want to feed the birds, but
not
with all our strawberries.
Not all strawberries, no. And you did spot a squirrel as well this morning on the fence.
On the fence.
So we need to get him away from the strawberries.
He'll have his eyes on it. Yeah.
I didn't think they'd eat strawberries, but I suppose they
it might be something else that's been taken them, but no, I'm pretty sure it's squirrels. Anyway, that's probably about all we have time for.
It is, yes.
It
I need to go and check my strawberries.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we'll be back next week. And remember, if you've got a question for us, info@potsandtrowels.com is our email address. So we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Watch the videos on YouTube or Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter or X, and subscribe to the podcast and never miss a thing. For more information, go to potsandtrowels.com.